As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees of Eldenwood, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming night jasmine. In the heart of this enchanted forest lived a humble woodcarver named Edwin. His fingers danced expertly over wood, shaping and molding it into beautiful figures that seemed almost alive. Each piece he created told a story, capturing the essence of the world around him. Yet, despite his skill, Edwin felt a persistent emptiness deep within. Every evening, as he carved under the glow of a flickering lantern, he found himself longing for companionship, for the warmth of laughter that echoed through the woods when his late wife, Ilara, was still by his side. The nights felt longer without her, and the shadows of the tall trees, once comforting, now seemed to whisper secrets of loneliness. He often gazed into the heart of the forest, where the trees grew denser and the air felt charged with magic. It was in that very spot that he had once shared countless adventures with Ilara, spinning tales of wonder that brought life to even the most mundane moments. One night, as the owls hooted softly and the stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet sky, a curious shimmer caught Edwin's eye. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a fleeting illusion in the dark, but as he leaned closer, the glimmer solidified into a radiant figure, a sprite named Leora, whose wings sparkled with the brilliance of 1,000 fireflies. She hovered before him, a playful smile dancing on her lips. "Good evening, dear woodcarver," she chimed, her voice like the tinkling of tiny bells. "Why do you sit alone in the dark when the world is full of light and laughter?" Edwin blinked in surprise, taken aback by her vibrant presence. "I carve my stories into wood, but I find myself missing the laughter I once knew," he confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "The stories feel incomplete without someone to share them with." Leora tilted her head, her wings fluttering with excitement. "I can help with that. Why not let the magic of the forest join your stories? Together, we can weave a tale that brings joy to your heart." With a flick of her wrist, Leora summoned a soft, glowing mist that enveloped Edwin's workshop. As the mist swirled around him, he felt an exhilarating rush of inspiration. Imaginary creatures began to emerge from his wood, tiny animals with eyes that shimmered like jewels, ethereal beings that danced around him, and even a brave knight poised to embark on a quest. Each carving seemed to pulsate with life, radiating warmth and joy. "Now, tell the stories of your heart," Leora encouraged, her eyes sparkling with delight. "Let your carvings come alive with the magic of love and friendship." With newfound vigor, Edwin began to speak, recounting tales of love that transcended time, of heroes who faced fierce battles, and of bonds that could not be severed. As he narrated, the forest reacted, the trees swayed gently, and the night creatures paused to listen, captivated by the harmony of his words. But as the hours passed, a shadow lurked at the edge of the clearing. A figure cloaked in darkness observed them with a watchful gaze, a sorceress named Morwenna, who thrived on despair and sought to snuff out the light. She sneered as she watched the enchanting scene unfold, her heart filled with envy. "What do you offer the woodcarver that I cannot?" she mused to herself, her fingers curling around a twisted staff that glimmered ominously in the moonlight. Just as Edwin finished a tale of bravery, Leora sensed the shift in energy. Her playful demeanor flickered, replaced by a cautious resolve. "Edwin," she warned softly, "not all stories end in joy. We must be vigilant, for darkness can seep into the brightest places." Unbeknownst to Edwin, the sorceress was already plotting her move to disrupt the magic that had begun to bloom in his heart. The winds turned colder, and the enchanting glow of the mist seemed to waver. In that moment, Leora transformed into a shimmering guardian spirit, ready to defend Edwin and his burgeoning tales from the lurking darkness. "Together, we will protect the stories," Leora vowed, her voice echoing with determination. "For every tale has the power to change the world. If we face the shadows together, we will turn them into light." As the night deepened, Edwin felt the weight of the sorceress's gaze upon him, a chill running down his spine. But in that same moment, he felt a flicker of courage igniting within him. He realized that his stories were not just carved from wood. They were imbued with a spirit that could shine even in the darkest of times. With a newfound sense of purpose, he took a deep breath, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that the magic of friendship and the power of his stories would be his greatest allies in the battles to come. The moon hung high, cloaked in silvery mist, casting ethereal light upon the forest floor. Edwin, emboldened by Leora's presence, turned to the gathering shadows as he began to weave another tale, this time one of resilience. Once upon a time, he started, his voice steady and calm, like the gentle flow of a river. In a kingdom much like ours, there was a humble farmer named Alaric. As Edwin spun the narrative, Leora stood vigilant, her energy radiating warmth and protection. The tale danced between light and shadow, depicting Alaric's trials against a greedy lord who sought to seize his land. The farmer's struggles resonated deeply with Edwin, mirroring his own battle against adversity. Each word he spoke served as a shield, a barrier against the encroaching darkness. But Morwenna was not one to be so easily deterred. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned a chilling gust of wind that cut through the clearing, interrupting the tale with whispers of despair. "You think your stories can shield you from me?" she hissed, her voice a venomous melody that slithered through the air like smoke. "Let me show you what true despair looks like." With a flourish of her staff, shadows twisted and coiled at her command, forming figures that loomed ominously around Edwin and Leora. Those lost souls, echoes of dreams unfulfilled, seemed to dance mockingly in the moonlight, each embodying the sorrows that Morwenna thrived on. Edwin's heart raced, but he remembered Leora's vow. He focused on the warmth of his tales, drawing strength from the stories that had shaped him. "No," he declared, his voice rising above the cacophony of despair. "Every story, even those steeped in darkness, holds the power to transform. Alaric found hope even in the harshest of winters, and so will we." As he spoke, Leora chimed in, her spirit glowing with brightness. "Yes, hope is our most potent magic. Just as the dawn chases away the night, our tales will banish your shadows." The magic of their unity thrummed in the air, sending ripples through the night. Morwenna's expression darkened, her once gleeful sneer faltering as Edwin and Leora's resolve solidified. The shadows faltered, flickering like candle flames in a sudden breeze. Edwin seized the moment, his voice unyielding. "Let the tale of Alaric remind us all that even the weakest can stand strong against the mightiest foe. It is the courage in our hearts that gives life to our stories." As the tale unfolded, Morwenna felt a foreign sensation creeping into her heart. A flicker of doubt. She had underestimated the power of hope, the strength found in togetherness. The shadows around her wavered, torn between the pull of Edwin's words and the darkness that had long been their comfort. Edwin continued, describing Alaric's eventual triumph, how the farmer rallied his community to stand against the greedy lord, each villager lending their strength, every heart igniting with the fire of unity. He painted images of laughter among the fields, of hands working together to restore what had been lost. The very essence of love and family seeped into his words like sweet honey, wrapping around the hearts of all who listened. The forest seemed to breathe with him, every tree and creature joining the symphony of hope being spun from the woodcarver's tongue. Edwin's stories became a tapestry woven of resilience, illuminating the darkness that Morwenna desperately tried to hold on to. As he concluded the tale, the shadows writhed uncomfortably, their strength sapped by Edwin's unyielding spirit. "No more!" Morwenna cried, her voice cracking. "You cannot win. This magic is mine." But Edwin, emboldened by the support of his guardian spirit and the forest that surrounded him, stood tall, ready to embrace the battle against the darkness, not just for himself, but for all those who had ever felt lost and alone. "Hope has a way of finding the light, even in the darkest corners," he asserted, as the first hints of dawn began to break through the trees, painting the world in hues of gold and pink. "And it is in that light that we shall find our strength." With those final words, the ground beneath them trembled, and the shadows imploded into wisps of smoke, fleeing from the light of truth and unity. Morwenna, feeling the power of her own darkness slipping away, shrieked in frustration, retreating into the depths of the forest, vowing to return. Yet, within the clearing, as the sun began to rise, Edwin and Leora stood unwavering, their bond fortified by the night's trials. They had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious, a tale in itself that would be told for ages to come. As the first rays of sunlight cascaded through the trees, illuminating the dewdrops that clung to the blades of grass, Edwin took a deep breath, savoring the fresh scent of the new day. Leora, her heart still pounding from the night's events, turned to him, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Did we truly banish her?" she asked, the remnants of fear lingering in her voice. Edwin placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "For now, yes. But darkness is a shadow. It often finds a way to loom again. We must remain vigilant." Just as he spoke, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves above them, almost as if the forest was agreeing with his wisdom. With the dawn came a sense of renewal, the world around them stirring to life. Birds chirped merrily, their songs weaving through the air like a melody of hope. As they began to walk back toward the village, Edwin recounted tales of past heroes who faced similar challenges, each story infused with the spirit of resilience that seemed to echo through the forest. "You see, Leora," he explained, "the power of unity is like the roots of an ancient oak tree. When intertwined, they can weather any storm." But as they approached the village, the atmosphere shifted. Instead of the warmth of returning heroes, Edwin was met with a cold silence. The villagers had gathered, clustered in anxious clusters, their faces drawn and pale. Whispers of Morwenna's return flitted through the crowd, casting shadows over their hearts, despite the brilliant sunlight. Edwin felt a flicker of doubt seep into his own resolve. Could they truly withstand another assault from the dark enchantress? Pushing his fears aside, Edwin stepped forward, raising his voice above the murmurs. "People of Harrendale, we have faced darkness and emerged victorious, but we must stand together once more. The battle is not over until we ensure that Morwenna is truly gone from our lives." His words ignited a spark of courage within the hearts of the villagers, and a few began to cheer. Yet a murmur of dissent lingered, led by a figure at the back, a tall man with furrowed brows and clenched fists. "Foolishness!" the man shouted, stepping forward. "You think your tales will save us from her wrath? She has power beyond our understanding. What if she returns stronger than before? What if she decides to take what is ours, piece by piece?" His voice trembled with desperation, and Edwin felt the weight of his words. "Then we shall meet her with all we have," Edwin replied, his voice steady despite the rising tide of anxiety. "If we allow fear to dictate our actions, then we've given her half the victory already. We must unite, not just in strength, but in hope." Another villager, an elder with silver hair and wise eyes, stepped forward. "Edwin speaks wisely. We've seen what love and unity can achieve. It's true that Morwenna is a threat, but it is our courage that will shine brighter than her darkness." Her voice was soft, yet firm, resonating within the crowd, easing the tension like a balm. Leora, feeling the shift in energy, moved to Edwin's side and raised her hands. "Together, we can build a barrier of light. We can protect our homes and our families. If we combine our strengths, we can summon a force even Morwenna cannot break." Her words sparked murmurs of agreement, and Edwin sensed a new tide of hope swelling among the villagers. The man who had spoken against them now hesitated, his frown softening as he considered the power of unity that was being awakened. As the villagers began to gather around Edwin and Leora, a newfound determination forged bonds once thought fractured. Huddled close, they formed a circle, hands clasped, hearts aligned. Edwin closed his eyes, calling forth a vision of their shared strength, of warm light radiating from their combined spirits. "Let us pledge our resolve," he began, and each villager echoed his words, their voices rising into a harmonious chant, resonating through the air. But then, amidst the growing chorus of affirmation, a chill swept through the clearing. The trees, once alive with the sounds of morning, stood eerily still. An oppressive silence enveloped them, and a shiver ran down Edwin's spine. From the depths of the forest, a sound echoed, a low, haunting laugh that reverberated through the branches like a distant storm. Morwenna had returned, her presence felt even before she was seen. The villagers stilled, their chant faltering, replaced by a collective gasp. Edwin's heart pounded in rhythm with the dread that was creeping in. He exchanged a glance with Leora, their silent understanding speaking volumes. They might, ignited a flame of hope, but now they would need to stand against the darkness once more. "Hold together," Edwin commanded, his voice breaking the stillness. "We are not alone. We are stronger than fear." But as he summoned his courage, he could not ignore the shadows pooling at the tree line. The looming figure of Morwenna manifested, a dark silhouette against the light, her eyes glimmering with malice and intrigue. "Did you really think you could banish me?" Her voice was smooth, dripping with disdain, as she stepped forward, the sunlight flickering as if in apprehension of her approach. "You will rue the day you dared to defy me, little woodcarver." For Edwin, the moment stretched, a tapestry of tension woven from courage and dread. He felt the warmth of the villagers' hands in his own, and the pulse of their hopes entwined with his heart. The battle had only just begun, and, together, they would have to find a way to face the storm that was brewing on the horizon. As Morwenna stepped further into the light, her laughter danced cruelly in the air, threading through the villagers' resolve like a serpent. The sunlight flickered, casting an unsettling glow upon her face, which twisted with delight at their discomfort. Edwin took a deep breath, grounding himself in the strength of those around him. The villagers, though trembling, held tight to one another, their fear slowly morphing into defiance. "Your time of tyranny ends here," Leora shouted, her voice breaking through the fog of dread. There was a fire in her eyes, a spark that reminded everyone of why they fought. "We refuse to live in shadows. We embrace the light." Edwin felt a surge of warmth at her declaration, the chant of the villagers rising once more, emboldened by her bravery. "That's right. Together," he urged, feeling the vibrations of their unity. "Let your hearts sing. Let hope ring out, echoing through this forest." Morwenna's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the circle of determined faces. "Hope is a fickle thing," she hissed, her voice dripping with scorn. "It will not save you from what I've unleashed upon this land." With a swift, fluid motion, she raised her arms and summoning shadows, she beckoned forth a host of twisted forms. Dark creatures, their limbs coiling like smoke, sprung forth from the depths of the forest, answering her call. The villagers gasped, their resolve, momentarily wavering at the sight of the grotesque figures, but Edwin's spirit surged anew. "Stand firm! We have faced darkness before and emerged stronger," he bellowed, stepping forward as if to shield Leora and the others from the encroaching nightmare. The atmosphere thickened with tension as the dark creatures slithered closer, their eyes glowing like embers in the night. With a flick of her wrist, Morwenna sent them forth, a cacophony of hissing and growling piercing the air. The villagers instinctively tightened their circle, a bastion against the rising tide of despair. Edwin raised, his voice above the din. "We are united by love, by the bonds of family. We will not let fear break us." As he spoke, he felt a weight lift, a connection forged through shared adversity. Each villager began to hum a familiar melody, weaving their voices into a tapestry of defiance and hope. The sound rose, a sweet harmony that danced upon the air, intertwining with Edwin's heartbeat. Morwenna faltered, her confidence wavering for the first time. The creatures hesitated, the melody washing over them like sunlight through the trees. Seeing their momentary pause, Edwin seized the opportunity. "Now!" he commanded, raising his carved wooden talisman high. A warm light emanated from it, illuminating the faces of the villagers, who mirrored his strength. "Together, we cast out the shadows." The light expanded, pouring over them like a gentle tide, pushing back against the creeping darkness. With each note sung, the villagers felt their fears dissolve, as if the melody was a talisman of its own, binding them in an unbreakable shield. Morwenna sneered, her features twisting into an ugly mask of rage. "Foolish mortals, you think your song can silence the darkness? I will drown you in despair." But Edwin, emboldened by love and unity, shouted back, "Despair has no power against hope." He stepped forward, the light surrounding him shining brighter as he confronted the encroaching shadows. The villagers joined him, their voices rising to a crescendo, a symphony of light and humanity against the malevolent force that sought to consume them. Suddenly, the shadows howled, recoiling as the light surged forth, striking the creatures like a dawn breaking through the night. They shrieked, a chorus of anguish that filled the air, retreating into the depths of the forest, vanquished by the warmth of their combined spirit. Morwenna stumbled back, eyes wide with disbelief. "This cannot be," she screeched, her voice trembling. "You think this is the end? I will return, and when I do, I will bring darkness tenfold." But her threats were drowned out by the villagers' song, a hymn of victory and unity that echoed through the trees. With each note, the forest around them began to change. Flowers bloomed brightly, colors vibrant against the backdrop of hope rekindled. Edwin turned to Leora, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "We have done it, haven't we? We have done it, haven't. Together, we've pushed her back." "Yes, but we must remain vigilant," Leora replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Evil may retreat, but it never truly disappears." The villagers, the very embodiment of courage, nodded in agreement. They knew this was only one battle in a longer war, but as they stood united in the clearing, hands clasped and hearts entwined, they understood that hope, once ignited, could never be extinguished. They had faced fear and emerged stronger, and in that moment a new tale began to weave itself around them, a tale of bravery, love, and the unwavering light that dwells within their hearts. As the last echoes of their victorious song faded into the whispering woods, a palpable sense of calm settled over the villagers. The once menacing shadows that lingered on the edges of the clearing melted away, leaving behind a luminescent glow that danced upon the petals of the newly bloomed flowers. Edwin and Leora shared a glance, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forged in the fires of adversity. However, the tranquility was short-lived. A distant rumble resounded through the trees, a foreboding reminder that Morwenna's threat was not mere bravado. The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly, as if the very earth felt the weight of the darkness that had been vanquished, but not extinguished. "Gather the children," Leora instructed, her voice steady, even as uncertainty flickered in her heart. "We must return to the village. We need to prepare for what may come." Edwin nodded, his resolve unwavering. "I will rally the elders. They must know that a new strategy is needed, one that will ensure our safety and further fortify the bond between us." As the villagers dispersed, their spirits buoyed by the recent triumph, yet shadowed by the lingering threat, Leora knelt beside a blooming flower, marveling at its resilience. The petals glistened with dew, each droplet a promise of hope, a testament to their strength and unity. If only they could nurture that same spirit of cooperation within the hearts of every villager. Meanwhile, in a secluded glen where ravens circled ominously, Morwenna thrashed her hands in frustration. "Fools! They dare think they can defy me!" Her voice, filled with venom, called forth dark clouds that cloaked the sky in an unnatural gloom. With each incantation, she conjured the echoes of despair, whispers that slithered through the woods like tendrils of smoke, seeking out the hearts of the unsuspecting. "Fear not, my shadows," she murmured, her breath hanging like a shroud. "For when the time is right, I shall return, and they will know the true meaning of despair." Back in the village, laughter erupted among the children, a sound that fluttered like the wings of butterflies. They played amidst the flowers, unaware of the brewing storm. Leora joined them, drawing them into a circle to tell stories of courage and friendship, weaving tales that would instill strength in their hearts. "Remember," she said gently, "when we stand united, we are stronger than any darkness that threatens to come." As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of orange and violet, Edwin gathered the elders beneath the great oak tree, a symbol of their shared history. "We have faced the darkness and won," he proclaimed, his voice steady and firm. "But we must not grow complacent. Morwenna's wrath will return, stronger and more cunning. We must devise a plan to protect our home and our children." The elders murmured in agreement, their faces lined with wisdom earned through years of hardship. "Let us forge stronger bonds with the neighboring villages," one elder proposed. "Together, we can create a network of protection, sharing our resources and strength." "Agreed," another elder added, and we must teach the younger generation the tales of our victories so they may learn the power of unity. As Edwin and the elders spoke, Leora watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride. The village was awakening to the truth of their strength, and she felt a sense of purpose ignite within her. They were no longer mere subjects of a dark tale. They were the authors of their own destiny, writing chapters of courage and resilience. Just then, a chill swept through the air, whispering of shadows yet unseen. Leora shivered, casting a glance over her shoulder toward the dark woods. The wind carried with it the faintest hint of Morwenna's laughter, swirling around her like a haunting melody. She knew in that moment that their unity would be tested again, and when the hour of reckoning arrived, they would need every ounce of courage, love, and hope they had cultivated. It was not merely a battle against an enemy. It was a fight for the very essence of their humanity, one that would demand sacrifice, strength, and an unwavering belief in the light they carried within. As the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Leora took a deep breath, grounding herself in the harmony of the village's heartbeat. They were ready for whatever lay ahead, for in their hearts, the true magic of their strength was woven, an unbreakable thread of stories, love, and unity that time would not unravel. The following day dawned with a golden sun, casting warm rays that danced upon the dew-kissed grass, illuminating the village in a gentle glow. Leora awoke early, her heart still reverberating from the previous night's gathering. The air hummed with possibility, and she felt an urge to act, to harness the momentum of hope that surged through every corner of their tight-knit community. She stepped outside, the soft earth beneath her feet grounding her as she made her way to the central square where the ancient fountain gurgled merrily, the water cascading like a shimmering veil. Villagers began to gather, drawn by the promise of a new day and the weight of their shared purpose. It was time to strengthen the bonds that would protect them. Dressed in a simple, linen dress, Leora exuded quiet confidence as she climbed onto a low stone pedestal, a natural stage in the heart of the village. "Friends and family," she called out, her voice ringing clear and true. "Together, we have faced the shadows, and together we shall stand against whatever comes our way." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, a mixture of encouragement and apprehension. "We must organize ourselves," she continued, her passion igniting the souls around her. "Let us form teams, share our skills, and pool our resources. The woods may be dark, but we shall light our paths with our determination and unity." From the back of the crowd, a young man named Felix stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "What if Morwenna finds out about our plans? She's cunning. She could sow discord among us. We must not only unite, but fortify our hearts against her deceit." Leora nodded, appreciating the gravity of his words. "You speak wisely, Felix. We must teach one another not only to fight, but to trust. Let us share our tales of bravery and compassion, for it is those stories that will fortify our spirits and bind us together." She glanced at the elders, who nodded approvingly, their eyes gleaming with the spark of inspiration. As the villagers began to break up into groups, Leora felt a familiar warmth grow within her chest. She approached the elder named Rowan, a man whose voice was as soft as the morning mist, yet held the weight of thunderous truth. "Elder Rowan, will you share with us the tale of the Great Bind?" she asked, knowing it was a story that highlighted the resilience found in unity. Rowan's eyes twinkled beneath his white brows as he began, his voice weaving a tapestry of memory. "Long ago, in a time when our ancestors faced a great beast that hunted the lands, it was the unity of the tribal clans that saved them. They forged a bond through shared laughter and tears, and together they journeyed into the heart of darkness." As the tale unfolded, Leora watched the faces of her friends and neighbors. They leaned in closer, their hearts beating in rhythm with the story, drawing strength from the lessons of the past. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the winds themselves were whispering encouragement, urging them to embrace the power within. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air, a shout that sent a ripple of fear through the gathered crowd. "Look!" a villager yelled, pointing toward the tree line where a shadow seemed to shift uneasily. Leora's heart raced as she turned to see a figure emerge from the depths of the forest, cloaked in shadow and mystery. It was not Morwenna, but rather a messenger from a neighboring village, eyes wide with urgency. "Hurry! We need your help!" the messenger gasped, breathless. "There are dark omens. Creatures have been spotted near the borders, gathering strength. They seek to break our unity before we can prepare." Leora's heart sank, realizing that the threat was already upon them. But as she glanced at the faces around her, she saw not fear, but a glimmer of resolve. "We stand together," she declared, her voice resolute. "This is our chance to show our strength. Let us gather our resources, our courage, and face this challenge head-on." The villagers rallied, hearts pounding with determination as they formed a plan. Together, they would not only defend their home, but also forge the very bonds that would withstand any storm. And as they united, Leora sensed the air shift, an electric current of unity sparking between them, igniting a fire that would push back against the looming darkness. But deep within the woods, Morwenna watched, her lips curling into a sinister smile. "Fools," she whispered, her voice trailing off into the wind like a warning. "They may believe themselves strong, but I shall bend their unity to dust." In that moment, Leora felt the weight of the challenge ahead, the stakes higher than any tale could convey. Yet, as she stood among her friends, she understood this battle was not just for survival. It was a quest for identity, a testament to the love and bonds they cherished, and a story that they would tell for generations to come. With the sun dipping below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the village, Leora and her companions began to gather the resources they would need. Baskets filled with herbs, ropes fashioned from the strongest fibers, and weapons crafted by the skilled hands of the blacksmiths were brought forth. Spirits soared higher with each item collected, as if the very earth beneath their feet was lending its strength to their cause. Among the villagers, a young boy named Eli stood out, his large, curious eyes filled with wonder. He had always been fascinated by tales of bravery and magic, and now, watching Leora lead the charge, he felt a surge of inspiration. "What can I do?" he asked, his voice eager and bright. Leora knelt down to meet his gaze, her heart swelling with affection for the courage in his small frame. "You have a great spirit, Eli. Gather the children and keep their hopes alive. Let them sing our story. Laughter will be our shield against despair." With a determined nod, Eli dashed off to rally his friends, calling them into a circle beneath the ancient oak tree. As they began to sing, their voices chimed like silver bells, weaving a melody that danced through the air, wrapping around the charging hearts of the adults preparing for battle. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Morwenna whispered to the shadows around her, summoning the dark creatures that lurked just beyond sight. They were twisted beings, remnants of lost souls, each one embodying the fears and doubts that had long plagued the villagers. "Let them feel the weight of their own minds, the shadows of their thoughts," she commanded, her voice dripping with malice. The creatures stirred, a cacophony of growls and hisses, ready to sow discord and fear among the brave hearts of the village. But for Leora, the songs of the children echoed like a protective charm, fortifying her resolve. As the moon rose high, illuminating the clearing with a silvery glow, she gathered her friends in a circle. "Tonight, we will face the challenge together," she proclaimed, her words resonating with an energy that seemed to vibrate the very air around them. "We are not just defenders. We are the light that pushes back against the dark." With those words, a spark ignited within her companions. They weren't merely preparing for a battle. They were weaving a tapestry of collective strength, each thread imbued with love and fellowship. United, they formed teams, strategizing their defense with the precision of a master artist blending colors on a canvas. Leora felt the pulse of magic flowing through the night, a force that whispered promises of hope and courage, even in the face of adversity. As the shadows thickened, Eli and the children continued to sing, their joyful notes soaring above the impending darkness. The melody wrapped itself around the villagers, creating a barrier of light that glimmered faintly against the encroaching threat. Leora watched, her heart swelling with pride, as the children's laughter intertwined with their fight, a reminder that joy could prevail even in the bleakest moments. Suddenly, a chilling howl echoed from the forest's edge, a sound so spine-tingling that it knocked the breath from Leora's lungs. The shadows slithered forward, revealing the twisted forms of Morwenna's creatures. They were grotesque, eyes gleaming with malice, and an aura of despair clung to them like a shroud. But in that moment of terror, Leora remembered the warmth of her friend's hands in hers, the strength of their voices harmonizing with hope. "We face this darkness together," she shouted, her voice piercing through the fear. And with that, she raised her arm high, a beacon of defiance igniting within her. In response, her friends followed suit, their spirits intertwining in an iridescent glow, the very essence of their unity manifesting as a radiant shield against the darkness. The creatures hesitated, their malevolent gazes faltering as the light surged forth, pushing back the creeping shadows. Leora felt the air thrum with possibility, a reminder that love and courage could indeed cast out the deepest of fears. As the confrontation loomed, the villagers stood firm, interconnected not only by their hands, but also by the story they were crafting together, the tale of bravery, unity, and the undying power of hope. The night stretched before them, filled with uncertainties, but also with the promise of an adventure that was just beginning to unfold. The creatures, momentarily stunned by the light, took a step back, their grotesque forms trembling as if the very essence of their being was threatened by the glowing aura of unity that surrounded Leora and her friends. Yet the darkness was not easily vanquished. With a guttural snarl, one of the beasts lunged forward, its jagged teeth bared, hungry for despair. It was a creature born of shadows, woven from the nightmares of those who had dared to dream. But Leora stood firm, her heart racing yet resolute. "We will not yield," she cried, the power of her voice a sturdy bulwark against the tide of despair. The children echoed her resolve, their chants rising with newfound vigor, intertwining their individual strengths into a symphony of defiance. Each note shimmered, bursting forth like stars against the abyss, illuminating the fears that gripped their hearts. As the monstrous figure recoiled from the brightness, it became clear that the barrier of joy was not just a repellent, it was a force of transformation. The shadows that had once swirled chaotically around the villagers began to shift, reforming into shapes less menacing, less terrifying. They morphed into fleeting glimpses of memories, the laughter of loved ones, the warmth of shared meals, and the echoing stories of generations past. The realization dawned upon Leora that these creatures, fearsome as they were, had once been part of something greater, twisted by grief and despair. "Remember who we are!" Leora shouted, her voice ringing out like a clarion call. "We are the guardians of our own stories, and no shadow can extinguish our light." The villagers, fueled by her passionate declaration, took a step forward, hands still linked, and felt the warmth of their shared history coursing through their veins. It was a warmth that spoke of resilience, a bond unbroken by the trials they faced. Suddenly, a soft glow emerged from the heart of the remaining darkness, a gentle figure stepping forth, cloaked in silver and gold. It was a spirit of the forest, a weaver of dreams and protector of the night. "Leora, brave heart," the spirit spoke, its voice soft and melodic. "You have summoned the strength of your love, and now you must guide these lost souls back to the light." With a wave of its hand, the spirit beckoned to the shadows. One by one, the creatures paused, their forms flickering, as if the light of recognition was piercing through the veil of darkness that had ensnared them for so long. Leora felt the pulse of magic surge anew, urging her to step closer to the ethereal being, to tap into the connection that bound all living things. "Let us show them who they can be!" Eli exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with determination. The children gathered closer, their innocent hearts beating in time with the melody of the evening as they began to sing again. A song woven with compassion, an invitation to forgiveness and healing that resonated through the night air. With each note, the creatures writhed, their angry snarls fading into soft whimpers, the malice in their eyes dimming as the essence of the villagers' love washed over them. Leora watched in awe as the dark figures hesitated, the lines of their twisted forms beginning to soften, revealing the echoes of what they once were. Flickers of light danced within them, remnants of joy and laughter that had been snuffed out by despair. Then, as if a spell had been lifted, one of the creatures stepped forward, its eyes now filled with a glimmer of hope. "We are sorry," it rumbled, its voice deep and tremulous, echoing with the sorrow of 1,000 lost years. "We sought power in darkness, but all we found was loneliness." Tears brimmed in Leora's eyes as she nodded, understanding that even the fiercest beings could be redeemed. "You are not alone. Join us, and together we can bring light back to the forest," she urged, extending her free hand, the glow of hope shimmering around her. As the creature hesitated, a profound silence enveloped them, the forest holding its breath. The other villagers followed Leora's lead, arms wide open, embracing the possibility of reconciliation. The air thickened with anticipation, a magical energy surging through the crowd, binding them all in a tapestry of shared dreams, a promise that love could indeed transform even the deepest scars. Just then, the first rays of dawn began to break over the horizon, washing the world in hues of rose and gold. It was a new day, one filled with the promise of renewal, and together they stood at the cusp of a new beginning. The shadows began to recede, not vanishing entirely, but transforming into soft silhouettes of gentle creatures, remnants of their former selves, now touched by the warmth of acceptance. And as the morning light filtered through the trees, painting the forest in vibrant colors, Leora understood that every story, no matter how dark, held the potential for a brighter ending. Together, they would weave a new tale, one filled with love, hope, and the promise that even the deepest darkness could be illuminated by the brilliance of unity. As the sun fully rose, casting golden ribbons through the foliage, Leora felt a surge of energy encapsulate her spirit. She turned to the villagers, their faces aglow with newfound determination. "Let us rebuild," she declared, her voice steady with purpose. "This forest can thrive again, not just as a home to us, but as a sanctuary for all who seek solace and joy." The words found their way into the hearts of her companions, igniting the embers of courage within them. One by one, they nodded, their trust in Leora deepening like the roots of the towering trees around them. From that moment on, they set forth to heal the land, not with mere strength, but with kindness woven into labor. They gathered fallen branches and stones, creating a path through the enchanted woods, leading to the heart of the village, a gathering place where laughter and stories could once again flourish. As they worked, the shadows, now gentle and curious, trailed behind, their presence less menacing and more companionable. The creatures marveled at the villagers' unity, their skepticism softening with each smile exchanged. In the days that followed, laughter echoed through the trees as children danced, their joy spilling like sunlight onto the earth. The villagers shared tales of old, stories that had once been lost in the silence of despair. As Leora spun her own memories into the tapestry of words, the shadows began to resonate with the laughter, their forms shifting into creaturely shapes that belonged to the forest, a playful fox, a wise owl, and even a shy deer that peered through the underbrush. But with such joy came whispers of unease. One starlit night, while Leora sat with her friends beneath the moon's silver embrace, a chill swept through the air, bringing with it the scent of damp earth and something else, something foreboding. "What if the darkness returns?" one villager murmured, their voice trembling like the leaves above. Leora's heart fluttered, the question hanging heavily in the stillness. She took a deep breath, her mind racing through the lessons learned. "Darkness may come and go," she replied, her tone soothing like a gentle breeze. "But we have each other now, and together we can face any storm." Just as the words left her lips, a low growl echoed from the thicket, sending ripples of fear through the gathering. The shadows stiffened, their once gentle forms morphing into a larger, more sinister presence. From the depths of the forest emerged a creature unlike any they had encountered. a towering figure wreathed in shadows, its eyes glowing like embers in a dying fire. "I have watched your foolishness," it rumbled, its voice like thunder. "You believe that love can erase the scars of the past, that a bond can withstand the weight of ancient darkness?" Leora stepped forward, her heart racing, but she held her ground. "It is not foolishness, but faith," she asserted, her voice unwavering. "We choose to believe in the power of unity, and we will not let fear dictate our fate." The creature paused, its fiery gaze flickering with uncertainty. For a moment, it seemed to tremble at her words, memories of warmth and light flashing across its face. "You dare speak of faith to one who has wandered the alleys of despair?" it replied, a note of vulnerability breaking through its fierce exterior. "We all have shadows we carry," Leora replied gently, her humanity shining through the magic surrounding her. "But we can choose to walk together toward the light. Will you join us, or will you remain in the darkness?" As the words hung in the cool night air, the villagers held their breath, the weight of the moment pressing on their chests. The creature's form shifted again, the shadows swirling like smoke, revealing hints of a softer being beneath. For every flicker of doubt, Leora felt the warmth of her companions beside her, ready to embrace both the light and the dark. Then, something remarkable happened. The moon, bright and solemn, illuminated the creature, and in that moment of vulnerability, a flicker of recognition danced within its eyes. It took a hesitant step forward, the ground trembling beneath it. The villagers exchanged glances, a mix of hope and dread swirling among them, but Leora remained firm, extending her hand once more, the light of her spirit shining bright against the encroaching shadows. "Together," she whispered, her heart racing with the realization that they were at the brink of another profound choice, one that could change the very fabric of their lives and the forest they cherished. As the creature hesitated, the air thrummed with anticipation, a reminder that the journey toward healing was never straightforward, but always worth the risk. In that fragile moment, where hope and trepidation danced in the air like fireflies, the creature's form shifted again. The shadows that enveloped it began to wane, revealing a visage both haunting and beautiful. Sharp, features softened by the glow of the moonlight, a shimmering mist coalesced around them, swirling like the very essence of the forest itself, breathing life into the stillness. "Your words resonate," the creature murmured, its voice a low rumble that echoed through the grove. "But fear is a heavy chain, and I have worn it for so long that I fear I may not know how to shed it." It stepped closer, eyes searching Leora's for understanding, for a glimpse of the warmth she had promised. "Fear can be a companion, not an enemy," Leora replied gently. "It reminds us we are alive, but it does not have to guide our steps. Let us walk together, and perhaps you will find the way to freedom." She took a bold step forward, her heart drumming a hopeful rhythm, the others following her lead with a tentative grace. The villagers, emboldened by her courage, formed a circle, their hands interlocking, to create a chain of support, a living bridge between worlds. Each heartbeat echoed a silent pledge, not just to fight against darkness, but to illuminate the shadows with compassion and understanding. As they stood united, the creature's form flickered, caught in the ebb and flow of its own turmoil. "But what if I bring destruction? What if I am the storm that tears apart the very fabric of your peace?" It trembled, the shadows around it beginning to coalesce once more, a storm brewing on the horizon of its mind. Leora's gaze remained steady, showing no signs of retreat. "Then let us face that storm together. If we fall, we shall rise again, hand in hand. Love is not the absence of fear. It is the bravery to stand beside one another in its midst." With each word Leora spoke, the air filled with a soft luminescence as the forest seemed to lean in, listening in rapt silence, aligning itself with their struggle. The gentle rustle of leaves whispered encouragement, and the creature blinked, its fiery eyes dimming as the shadows retreated a little more. Then, like a wisp of forgotten memory, an echo surfaced within the creature. As it recalled fleeting glimpses of laughter and warmth, there was a flicker of something lost, a fragment of its past that longed to be reawakened. "I remember," it whispered, the tremor of regret lacing its tone. "I remember the laughter of children echoing in the fields, the joy that once flowed through my heart." Then let that memory guide you home. Guide you, Leora urged, her voice like a melody, wrapping around them like a soft blanket. You are not alone. Together, we shall weave new tales, ones that celebrate not just existence, but the beauty that arises from our wounds. The ground beneath them began to shimmer, the roots of the ancient trees, stretching and intertwining, as if sensing the shift in energy. The creature took a tentative step closer to Leora, but a sudden rustle in the underbrush broke the tender moment, jolting them all into a new vigilance. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, a silhouette that radiated malice and despair. The villagers gasped collectively, their unity momentarily shaken by this new threat. What is this foolishness? It sneered, its voice a serpentine hiss that twisted around them. You dare to embrace the darkness? You will all suffer for this folly. Leora turned, her heart pounding but resolute, the warmth of her companions bolstering her courage. No more suffering, she declared, her voice ringing with strength. We will not cower in fear, nor let hatred dictate our actions. We stand together, and we will not be torn apart. The creature before her faltered, confusion flickering in its eyes as if questioning its own allegiance. But the figure in the shadows only laughed, a haunting sound that echoed like thunder through the grove. Unity? Love? They are but illusions, child. I shall show you the true power of despair. With that, the air thickened with dark energy, a tempest swirling around them as fear clawed at the hearts of those gathered. Leora sensed the rising tide of negativity and the collective dread that threatened to consume them. But deep within, a spark ignited, one that resonated with her conviction and the bravery of those who stood by her side. Together, we can face this, she urged, locking eyes with the creature, which now flickered uncertainly between darkness and light. You know what it is to feel alone. Let us show this shadow the strength of our bond. And as the winds howled, rattling the very branches of the trees, Leora reached out her hand, her heart wide open, inviting both the creature and the shadows to experience the warmth that can blossom even in the deepest gloom. The atmosphere shimmered with possibility, a promise that the battle was only just beginning, but so was the journey toward healing and understanding. In that breathless moment, as the tempest raged around them, the shadow's laughter abruptly ceased. It paused, caught in the web of Leora's words, the promise of connection and the allure of light in a life steeped in darkness. The flickering eyes narrowed, as if a long-buried memory shone through the inky blackness. Foolish child, the creature hissed, its voice laced with venom, yet slightly softer, almost contemplative. What do you know of despair? What do you know of solitude? The villagers exchanged uneasy glances, their hearts pounding as they felt the weight of the creature's words. It was then that a brave soul from the gathered crowd stepped forward, a woman with silver hair, her hands trembling yet steady. Her name was Maris, and she had long carried the scars of loss and sorrow. I know despair all too well, she spoke, her voice strong despite her vulnerability. I have wandered through the valley of shadows, felt the chill of loneliness that wraps around the heart like barbed wire. But through that darkness, I learned there is a glimmer of hope, a thread that can be woven into a tapestry of community. You, too, can weave that thread. The creature's form wavered, its features shifting in response to the warmth that bloomed in the grove. For the first time, a glimpse of confusion flickered across its ashen face, an echo of something forgotten. Hope, it murmured, the word foreign and heavy on its tongue. Hope is but a fleeting dream, easily crushed beneath the weight of reality. No, Leora interjected, stepping closer, her heart pounding not with fear, but with empathy. Hope is the flame that does not extinguish, even when the winds howl. It lives in the hearts of those who choose to believe in something greater than themselves. It is the laughter of children, the shared stories by the fire, the knowing glances between friends. It is real. As each villager began to share their own stories of struggle and triumph, the air hummed with the power of their words. An elderly man spoke of surviving harsh winters with the warmth of his family. A young girl recounted her triumph over fear as she learned to ride a bicycle with the help of neighbors. Each tale illuminated the grove, casting away the shadows that threatened to engulf them. The The darkness around the figure began to shift, swirling as if caught in a fierce wind. Leora saw the creature's form flicker, revealing hints of color beneath the cloak of despair, streaks of a rich, deep blue and vibrant purple, colors that spoke of forgotten joys and unfulfilled dreams. "Why do you speak to me so?" the creature inquired, its voice now laced with a tremor of uncertainty. "Why do you care when I have caused you so much pain?" "Because everyone deserves a chance," Maris replied gently, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Even in your pain, you are not alone. You have the power to change, to embrace the light that exists, even if you can barely see it. Let us journey together, for healing requires compassion on both sides." At the heart of the grove, the winds slowed, their ferocity dulled by the weight of understanding and shared humanity. Slowly, as if awakening from a long slumber, the creature began to lower its hood, revealing features that were not entirely monstrous, but marked by sorrow, a face etched with lines of lost years and forgotten happiness. Leora took a cautious step forward, her hand still outstretched, welcoming. "We are all works in progress," she said softly. "Let us walk this path together. You need not carry your burden alone." The creature hesitated, caught between the memory of despair and the flicker of hope ignited by the villagers' collective kindness. Their unwavering resolve shimmered like a beacon, guiding it through the darkness of its own heart. For the first time in centuries, the shadow felt. Something stirred deep within, an echo of warmth, a glimmer of belonging. As Leora and her friends gathered closer, their bond solidified by the act of reaching out, the grove began to transform. The winds no longer howled. Instead, they swirled playfully, dancing through the leaves, carrying with them the sweet scent of blossoms awakening from winter's grasp. It was a new beginning, a shared journey waiting to unfold, where each step would be a testament to their courage, and each moment would be infused with the magic of hope. In this enchanted grove, they would learn the depths of their own hearts and the strength that lay in unity, ready to embrace whatever trials awaited them on the horizon. With every cautious step, the creature felt the heavy mantle of its past begin to lift, revealing a spirit previously hidden beneath layers of regret and grief. The air, now filled with the scent of blooming lilacs and the soft rustle of leaves, seemed to whisper secrets of renewal. "Where do we go from here?" it asked, the tremor in its voice softening, replaced by a hint of curiosity. Maris glanced at her friends, who nodded encouragingly. "To the heart of the forest," she replied, her voice steady, like the pulse of the earth beneath their feet. "There, we will discover the source of the magic that binds us all. Perhaps in its glow, you can find a piece of yourself." As they ventured deeper into the grove, the trees kissed the sky with their branches, forming a cathedral of nature that filtered the sunlight into enchanting patterns on the forest floor. Each step echoed with the rhythm of their shared purpose, a symphony of hope resonating within their hearts. Leora turned to the creature, her smile warm and inviting. "What is your name?" The creature paused, its thoughts a jumble of confusion and longing. "I was once called Azar," it murmured, as if tasting the name for the first time in centuries. "But it feels like a lifetime ago." "Azar," Maris repeated softly, the name rolling off her tongue like a spell. "It is a beautiful name, one that carries strength and mystery." With their gentle encouragement, the darkness that had once enveloped Azar began to recede, replaced by a tentative light that glimmered in its eyes. They arrived at a clearing where a shimmering waterfall cascaded down rocks that glistened like jewels under the sun. The water sang as it flowed, a melody of joy that intertwined with their own heartbeats. "This is where the magic dwells," Leora breathed, her gaze fixed on the radiant glow emanating from the waterfall. "They say it can heal even the deepest wounds." As they approached, the air crackled with possibilities, and Azar could feel an unfamiliar warmth enveloping it, beckoning it closer. "What must I do?" the creature asked, uncertainty lacing its tone. "Let go," Maris advised, stepping forward as she placed her hand gently on the cool surface of the water. "Release the sorrow you carry. Allow the magic to cleanse your heart." Azar stood at the water's edge, hesitant yet intrigued, The flickering light danced with the sounds of laughter and songs from the village, calling to it like a long-lost friend. Slowly, it stepped into the water, the cool embrace surrounding its legs, rising higher with every inch it moved forward. As the waterfall enveloped Azar, the magic surged through it like a tidal wave, washing away the shadows that clung to its skin. Memories surged forward, moments of joy, of laughter shared beneath the blossoming branches, of children's voices ringing like chimes in the summer breeze. Azar gasped as the weight of isolation began to dissolve, replaced by a rush of feelings it had thought lost forever. But just as hope flickered bright, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A rumble echoed through the grove, causing leaves to shiver and branches to sway violently. Maris, Leora, and the others exchanged worried glances, understanding that while healing was beginning, there were still challenges lying in wait. With a fierce determination, Leora took a step forward, her eyes locking onto Azar's. "You are not alone in this. Together we are stronger." The creature's heart swelled with newfound resolve. "Together," it echoed, feeling the bond of unity brighten the darkness within. As the tremors intensified, the 5 friends formed a circle, hands clasped tightly in a show of solidarity. The waterfall sparkled like 1,000 stars falling from the sky, illuminating the grove in a dazzling light. Mystical energy pulsed around them, intertwining their fates as they prepared to face whatever storm threatened to disrupt their journey. "Hold on to one another," Maris cried, her voice ringing clear above the chaos. And in that moment, they all understood it was not just about finding healing, but embracing the power of friendship to confront adversity head-on. As the winds howled and the earth shuddered, their hearts beat as one, ready to face the unknown, together. Suddenly, the winds howled with an otherworldly intensity, swirling around them like a mighty tempest. Azar could feel the energy rising, crackling like static in the air, sending shivers down its spine. The waterfall turned vibrant colors, a cascade of violet and emerald, shimmering with promises of enchantment and peril. As the light enveloped them, a shadowy figure materialized at the edge of the grove, draped in a cloak woven from midnight itself. "Who dares to disturb my domain?" the figure called, its voice echoing through the trees like a distant thunderclap. The friends exchanged anxious glances, their grip on each other tightening as the dark presence advanced, gliding across the ground effortlessly. "It is I, Azar," the creature spoke, its voice trembling but firm. "I have come to reclaim what was lost, to heal, to find my place among those who love me." The shadow paused, intrigued, yet menacing. "Ah, the Forsaken One wishes for love. But love does not come freely. It must be earned through trials of the heart." The figure stepped closer, revealing a face half shrouded in darkness, eyes glinting like shards of glass. "Are you prepared to face the trials that will test your very soul?" Maris took a step forward, her courage shining like a beacon. "We will face them together. Azar is not alone anymore, and love is worth any challenge." The darkness flickered momentarily, revealing a glimmer of something softer, something almost human. "Very well. If it is unity you cherish, then let us see if your bond can withstand the trials I shall unleash." With that, the figure raised an arm, and from the shadows, a swirling mist enveloped the grove, transforming it into a labyrinth of twisted paths and whispered fears. The friends found themselves separated, each facing a mirror of their deepest insecurities. Leora ran forward, but the path twisted away, leading her to a clearing filled with brilliant flowers that wilted at her touch. "Why do you wither before me?" she cried, heartbroken. "You are the one who fears change, Leora," a voice echoed from the petals. "Let go of what is familiar, and embrace the unknown." Meanwhile, Maris stood in a place where laughter echoed hollowly. She faced children who looked at her with disappointment, their joy replaced by shadows. "I tried so hard to protect you," she pleaded, feeling the weight of failure heavy on her heart. "It is not your protection we need," the children replied. "It is to let us grow, to find our own way." Azar wandered through the mist, feeling untethered and lost. Before it stood a shimmering pool reflecting its image, but the reflection morphed into a creature of despair, eyes darkened by loneliness. "You'll never truly belong," it whispered, the words curling like smoke in the air. You are forever an outcast. Just then, a warm light flickered from behind, illuminating the darkness of doubt. You are more than this shadow. Leora's voice rang through the haze, fierce and determined. Remember the laughter, the joy we shared. You are not alone, and you never will be. With renewed strength, Azar turned to the reflection, its heart igniting with the warmth of memories shared, of moments cherished. You may be a part of my past, but you do not define me, it declared, shattering the image with a wave of newfound confidence. The mist began to swirl more violently, and the shadowy figure watched with a mixture of surprise and looming menace. Interesting, it said, almost intrigued. Perhaps this bond is stronger than I thought. But the trials were far from over. The environment around them began to shift. Again, the ground trembling as the dark figure raised both hands. Now, let us see if your love can stand against the tempest of doubt. A violent wind howled through the grove, and the sky darkened with swirling clouds. The four friends, now united once more, felt the strength of their connection bolster them against the uproar. Together! They shouted in unison, a fierce determination igniting in their eyes. And as the winds raged and shadows danced menacingly, they stood resolute, a circle of light against the storm. They could feel their hearts beating in rhythm, a melody of courage and love that resonated deep within the very earth beneath their feet. In that moment, they knew that whatever trials lay ahead, they would face them together, unyielding in their quest for healing and belonging. As the storm gathered strength, a flicker of hope shone brighter, promising that the magic of friendship was a force unlike any other, capable of breaking through even the darkest of spells. The tempest howled with furious intent, ripping through the grove like a wild beast, seeking to unravel the bonds that had just been forged anew. Azar felt the energy of Leora, Alawan, and Thorn, pulsing beside it, and with that, a spark ignited within. A glow that emanated from their collective hearts, illuminating the chaos around them. Each gust of wind seemed to pose a challenge, but each call from their souls was a shield against despair. As they stood firm, shadows writhed and twisted, forming grotesque shapes that mocked their unity. Your friendship is a fleeting flame, the dark figure taunted, its voice echoing like thunder. Watch as I extinguish it, one flicker at a time. But Azar raised its chin defiantly, thinking of the laughter shared around the fire, the whispers of secrets beneath the stars, and the promises made in the quiet hours of the night. Love is not a fleeting flame, it shouted back, the warmth inside it swelling. It is a bonfire that lights the darkest of nights, a beacon guiding those who are lost. Suddenly, a bright light erupted from their hands, a radiant glow that began to dance and flicker in the wind, weaving through the tempest like a tapestry of hope. The shadows shrank back, momentarily blinded by the brilliance. We are not afraid, Leora's voice rang clear, a melody that cut through the cacophony surrounding them. With a fierce cry, the dark figure summoned the storm with renewed fury. You think you can defy me? I am the embodiment of your fears. Your deepest insecurities weave through every gust. Then let's face them together, Thorn roared, his voice like a drum, firm and steady. We are stronger as one, and our light will pierce through your darkness. They clasped hands tighter, an unbreakable chain, and with every ounce of faith, they summoned their love, the love that had blossomed through trials, laughter, and even tears. The winds howled fiercely, but the circle of their friendship glowed even, brighter, pulsating with the rhythm of their unity. The dark figure recoiled, and for a brief moment, its form flickered, revealing hints of its past, a glimmer of what it had once longed for. No one has ever chosen to stand against me like this, it murmured, a strange vulnerability creeping into its voice, almost lost amidst the tempest. Perhaps that's because you were never truly alone. Alawan spoke softly, her voice a gentle caress amidst the roar of the winds. Even the darkest shadows can find light if only they dare to reach for it. The storm paused, as if caught in a moment of contemplation. The shadows that surrounded the dark figure wavered, flickering between light and dark. You would forgive me? It asked, a tremor in its voice. Azar stepped forward, courage flooding through every fiber of its being. We forgive what has hurt us, not for you, but for the freedom it gives us to love and to grow. You can choose to join us, or you can remain trapped in the dark. The choice is yours. The dark figure's form shimmered, uncertainty flashing across its eyes. The winds slowed to a whisper, the chaos they had incited subsiding as if holding its breath. For a moment, the world felt suspended in time, a moment teetering on the edge of transformation. "Will you risk the light?" Thorn asked, his heart racing as the question hung heavy in the air, laden with hope and trepidation. The figure hesitated, its essence swirling, caught between the darkness it had always known and the warmth of the light that beckoned it forward. "What if I fail?" it whispered, a hint of fear creeping into its voice. "What if I am too tainted to be embraced?" "Then we will catch you," Leora answered, stepping closer, her eyes shimmering like stars. "We'll be your strength when you falter. For we are all a tapestry woven of many threads, each imperfection making us uniquely beautiful." The winds quieted, and for the first time, silence swept over the grove like a soft blanket. The dark figure regarded the four friends, the flicker of hope now brighter than all its doubts. "Perhaps," it began, the words fragile, yet imbued with the potential for change. "Perhaps I wish to know what it feels like to belong." And with that, the shadows that had once bound it began to unravel, the chains of despair unwinding as the light of their friendship embraced them all. The tempest shrank away, replaced by a gentle breeze that whispered of new beginnings, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and the promise of dawn. As dawn broke, spilling golden light across the enchanted grove, the four friends stood hand in hand, their hearts vibrating with an unbreakable bond, ready to face whatever magic awaited them on the horizon. Together, they would discover that love can heal even the deepest wounds, and that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single choice, a choice to embrace the light. With the first rays of sun illuminating the grove, a soft warmth enveloped the four friends. They stood in a circle, each heart echoing the rhythm of newfound hope, their eyes drawn to the figure before them, which now shimmered in the light, a gradual transformation from shadow to something more radiant. "Who are you?" Thorn breathed, his voice barely breaking the serene stillness. The figure straightened, its form becoming clearer, more defined. It was no longer merely an outline of darkness. It was shaped like a young woman, her features soft yet fierce, adorned with a crown of twinkling stars that floated just above her head like dewdrops. "I am Selene," she spoke softly, her voice a melodic whisper carried by the morning breeze. "Once, I was a spirit of the night, cursed to wander alone in shadows, feeding on the fears of others. But your light has shown me a path I thought was forever lost." Leora's heart swelled with joy. "Selene, you are no longer bound by your past. You are free now. Will you walk this path with us?" The moment hung like a single drop of dew on a spider's web, fragile yet filled with promise. Selene glanced at the ground, the vibrant colors of the flowers around her reflecting the warmth of the dawn. "I want to," she mused, "but I fear I may bring darkness with me. What if the shadows come back? What if I become a burden?" "Then we will share your burdens," Vesper interjected, his voice steady as a rock. "Together, we are stronger than any shadow. Together, we can face the darkness that seeks to return." Selene looked Selene, from one friend to another. The sincerity in their eyes was a balm to her battered spirit. Slowly, she raised her hands. As they intertwined, a glow of golden light burst into the air, illuminating the grove in a soft, radiant embrace. "Then let us weave our fates together," she declared, a smile, lighting up her face like the moon emerging from behind a cloud. At that moment, the enchantment of the grove deepened. The breeze transformed into a gentle current, swirling around them like a dance of fireflies. The flowers, kissed by morning dew, began to sway to an unheard melody, their colors brightening as if in celebration of the newfound bond forming among them. As they released each other's hands, Selene gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. "The grove! It feels alive!" she exclaimed. "I can feel the heartbeat of nature, the whispers of the trees. It's as if they welcome me back." With A shared smile, Thorn stepped forward. The world is vast, Selene. You were meant to connect with it, to share your light. We all have our battles, but with friends by our side, we can create something beautiful, even from the remnants of despair. Indeed, Leora added, her voice infused with passion. The shadows of yesterday do not define who we are today. It is our choices that light our path. But just as hope surged through their hearts, a low, rumbling growl echoed from the depths of the dark forest beyond the grove. The cheerful songs of the birds ceased, replaced by a heavy silence like a pause before a storm. "What was that?" Vesper asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "It sounds like a warning." Selene's gaze sharpened. It could be the dark spirits, sensing the change. They thrive on fear and chaos. They will not be pleased to see me free. A chill crept into the air as the sun began to wane, casting long shadows that curled around the grove, as if the trees themselves were anxious. "We need to prepare," Thorn said, his determination ignited. "But first, we must help you find your true powers, Selene. Your light can shine brighter than any darkness they can conjure." With newfound resolve, they gathered close, joining hands once more, their voices rising in a harmonious chant, a melody woven from threads of hope and courage. As the words filled the air, a shimmer enveloped Selene, igniting her spirit with the brilliance of 1,000 stars. "Let the guardians of this grove be our guides," she whispered, her eyes gleaming with the light of understanding. "Together, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead. I will not falter. I will not hide. I am not just a shadow anymore." And as they stood united, the dark forest trembled, sensing the awakening of a force that could rival its gloom. With hearts intertwined and spirits ablaze, they prepared to face the shadows that lurked just beyond the safety of their grove, ready to illuminate the darkness with their unbreakable bond. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they were no longer alone. In the dance of light and shadow, their adventure had just begun.